greatest show on dirt makes its return to the Dakotas. How's everybody doing? I'm Jay Elson, and this is Midco Motorsports. Well, you can't think World of Outlaws without Donnie Schatz. The now 7-time series champion is always tough to beat, but he's particularly strong at home. Last season, Schatz won all 5 races in the Dakotas, which included a sweep at River City Speedway. He sought to continue that dominance Friday in Grand Forks.
Schatz looking for his 10th win of the season. He had other things to worry about first, though. Schatz pulling double duty with his late model on Friday, but this one didn't go well. Just 10 laps in, he's got nowhere to go. The 15 gets caught up in a mess, and that would be it for Schatz. The real story of this race, however, was Mike Balkin. Just a week after destroying his race car in a nasty crash, the Winnipeg native looked like a man on a mission. Balkin took command from the pole and quickly reestablished that control after the Schatz wreck. An impressive run to be sure, and one that clearly meant a lot to the man behind the wheel.
You know, just racing's a really tough deal. You just never know what's going to happen, and things came around for us tonight. And you know, it's a very humbling sport. And tonight's a good night, and not all nights are like this, as you can see.
Balkin, who now has 2 wins to his credit this season, is still very much in the hunt for the track championship. He's currently 4th. Brad Sang, meanwhile, has replaced Dustin Strand at the top thanks to Friday's 2nd place finish. Let's get to the sprint cars. High-flying action in the night's last chance shootout. Just ask Shane Romling. Let's see that again. Romling ramps the 92 of Mitch Mack and goes hard into the catch fence. Fortunately, Romling was okay. On to the big showdown. 24 cars looking to solve the legendary bull ring, including the 1S of Logan Schuchart, who was aiming for his first World of Outlaws victory. The Hanover, Pennsylvania native led the first 20 laps of this thing, but that's when Donnie Schatz makes his move. He pilots the 15 past David Gravel, then picks off Schuchart as well. Lap 33, Schatz dodges a bit of a bullet. The 20A of Jordan Adams backflips just in front of him, but the leader manages to steer clear. Adams, by the way, was uninjured. It was all Schatz from there. He quickly regained control off the restart and goes on for his 7th career win at River Cities.
If there's a place you ever look forward to, obviously all the places you run good, but this place has always been, I've always enjoyed coming here since the first race I come here. Always had fun. These guys work their tails off to give the fans a great show and a great racetrack, and to be able to win in front of the hometown crowd. We've done it before, but every time you do it, it feels even better and better. So happy to be standing here tonight.
Sunday, it was on to Aberdeen. The Outlaws making their first appearance at Brown County Speedway since 1985. We'll get back to them in a bit. The Super Stocks served as the night's support class. Eric Cease out front for the first 3 laps of this one. But here comes Corey Roberts. The 18R rides the inside line past the 12. 10 to go now. A little chaos on the restart. Shane Brick gets shoved inside the tire. Meanwhile, Trevor Nelson sneaks into the top spot. A caution would bring Nelson back to the pack with a couple of laps remaining, but the man from Warner, South Dakota manages to fend off the field and finish off his 2nd win in as many races in the Hub City. Good battle developing in the points. Nelson currently stands 6th, though he's just 10 points behind the co-leaders Cole Searing and Sean Malsom. Stuart Shipke just 3 points off the pace, while Brick and Nick Shipke are each 8 back. On to the main event. Folks in Aberdeen waited a long time to see this. The Outlaws trademark 4-wide salute. They also got to see Shane Stewart at his best. He was 5th quickest to start the night, then finished 2nd in his heat and won the dash. That put him on the pole for the 35-lap feature, and he kept the 2-car there the whole way. In fact, a couple of early cautions were the only thing that slowed him down. Stewart dominates in the Outlaws' return to Brown County, going wire to wire for his 5th victory of the season.
Being able to start front row of the dash and be able to get that, put us on the front row of the feature, and that was big. Normally we have double file restarts, and we didn't have that this time just because of the way the track was shaped, and generally that's pretty chaotic when we have double file restarts after our initial one. Since they got rid of that, being out front was huge, and just trying to pace myself, trying to be as patient as possible, get through lap traffic without getting myself in trouble, and everything worked out really good for us tonight.
Here's how the World of Outlaws driver points looked after the weekend. Schatz, the 2-time defending champ, back on top after passing Brad Sweet. Stewart stands third, followed by Darren Pittman and David Gravel.
In 115 years of sprint car racing at Knoxville Raceway, there's been exactly one female winner, and she did it again on Saturday. We'll take you through McKenna Hassey's latest triumph when we come back.
This episode of Midco Motorsports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Rapid Speedway.
Welcome back. Well, Friday's nasty summer storm wiped out a good portion of the racing around Sioux Falls, with Jackson Motorplex and Rapid Speedway among the casualties. To make matters worse, that same storm also contributed to the cancellation of the entire weekend at Badlands Motor Speedway. The good news is she couldn't slow down Knoxville.
The chase for the Championship Cup continued on Saturday night. Great story in the 305 division. Pick it up on Circle Circuit 5. Knoxville's own Devin Klein finds something up top. Nice little run from third to overtake points leader Christian Bowman. Behind him, McKenna Hassey was making a charge of her own. The third row starter gets under Bowman for second, then sets a beat on the leader. Lap 11, here she comes. Hassey sticks the nose under Klein, but the 5J wasn't feeling chivalrous. Klein slams the door, forcing the 55M to fall back. Hassey stays with it, though, and her persistence pays off 2 laps later. Klein can't hold her off this time, and the 19-year-old Hassey, who last season became the first female to win a sprint car feature at Knoxville in 114 years, now has 3 career victories. Hassey has been consistent all season. She's one of just 2 drivers in this division with 6 top 5 finishes. The other is Bowman. The difference is he and Chris Walraven each have a pair of wins to their credit. Tough act to follow for the 360s, but they gave it a pretty good shot. Back and forth early on as pole setter Carson McCarl and the 9 of Ryan Giles traded the point 4 times. Points leader Clint Garner started 6th for this one, but a lap 5 restart was just what he needed. Garner gets by McCarl for second, then grabs the lead from Giles before the lap is complete. The 40 car settled in quite nicely from there. Nate Van Haften would manage to close ground over the final 2 laps, but it proved to be too little too late. Garner wins for the 5th time in 10 races. The Sioux Falls native is well on his way to a 6th track championship in the 360s. How dominant has he been? Well, consider this. Van Haften is the only Knoxville regular not named Clint Garner to win a 360 feature in 2016. This week's 410 feature had a heavy hint of Australian. Aussies Brooke Tatnall and Ian Madsen led the field to green for this one, and it's Madsen that gains the edge as they head down the back chute. Lap 5 now. Ian's brother Kerry has raced up from his 3rd row starting spot. He gets by Craig Delansky for 3rd. 3 trips later, Kerry continues his climb. He blows past the 2nd place car of Tatnall, then starts to reel in his younger brother. He caught him pretty quickly, too. Kerry cuts inside of Ian to take over the lead right here, and he would stay there for the final 11 circuits. Kerry Madsen gets back to victory lane for the 2nd time this season and the 19th for his career at Knoxville. Brian Brown came in 4th on Saturday, his 9th top 10 finish in 10 races at Knoxville this season. He remains the man to beat in the chase for the Championship Cup. Daniel Lasowski, Ian Madsen, Tatnall, and Delansky make up the rest of the top 5. The 6th annual Dakota Legends Tour wrapped up Sunday at Buffalo River Race Park. The Pure Stocks were up first. Couple of familiar cars at the front of this one. The 14 of Dylan Hager and Doug Gardner's 41. A week after finishing 1-2, they were at it again. Gardner got the lead with 5 to go. Hager did stay right on his tail the rest of the way, but the 41 gets its revenge. Gardner wins for the 2nd time this season.
It's a big one. It's Father's Day, of course. I mean, make Dad happy. He helped me build the car. He's got a lot of time in this thing, so it's a big one.
Horace, North Dakota's Jim Erdman brought a 2-race win streak into Sunday's Mod 4 feature, but he'd have to work for this one. With 10 to go, Erdman completes the climb from his 8th starting spot by passing pole setter Keith Roush. To the white flag now, Jerry Essler in the 31E tries to take this one away, but Erdman stays the course. Nice move in lap traffic helps seal the deal as he drives the 2 car back to victory lane for the 3rd straight week. Despite his recent surge, Erdman still sits just third in the points. He trails this week's fourth-place finisher, Francis Hauber, by 30. Last week's IMCA Sport Mod winner, hoping to follow Erdman's lead, Andy Wagner got off to a good start. He led the first few laps, but he loses the top spot with 10 to go. Fargo's Kelly Jacobson beats him to the line just before the caution flag flies. That meant he got to lead the field back to green, and Jacobson made the most of it. He pulls away for his first win of the season.
Just a matter of keeping myself calm, slow is fast when it tracks like this. When it's dry slick, I was maybe half throttle at the end of the straightaway. Just keep your head on your shoulders, drive a straight race, and keep the car under you.
Now to the legends. 26 cars, including one driven by Tony Stewart's father Nelson, qualified for the night's main event, but none was better than the 13 of Tim Brockhouse. The Shakopee, Minnesota native led this thing from start to finish. He wins the sprint and the marathon. Brockhouse is your 2016 Dakota Legends Tour champion.
These guys are the best of the best out here, so to come out here and beat them, it's tough. Last year we had a few bad breaks, but it's one of those things where you just keep coming back, and eventually it comes to you. So this year it was my turn.
Here's a look at the final standings. Brockhouse, who won 2 of the 4 races on this year's tour, bested Minot Shane Williams by 18 points. Bismarck's Stephen Kuntz completed the top 3. The IMCA Modifieds rounded out the night. 4 laps in, Billy Vogel fighting for the lead, but not anymore. Vogel loses control and would have to restart at the back of the field. Last week's winner, Justin Jones, inherited the lead, which he kept for the next several circuits. But here comes the 88B of Brady Peterman. He gets around Jones on the outside. Final lap now, Jones looking to answer, continues to pressure on the inside, but Peterman somehow hangs on. The 88B edges the 69 by .035 seconds. Another incredible finish at Buffalo River.
We've been working on setups this whole time that we started from the beginning of last year to just now, and I think we finally found what we need.
At just 18 years old, Mike Nichols has already proven to be a championship caliber driver. But where is it all leading? We'll find out next.
This episode of Midco Motorsports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Rapid Speedway.
A few weeks ago, Rod Patterson told us we were going to want to know the name Mike Nichols. Well, we're going to get to know him right now. Midco SN's Kelly Stewart joins us now with more.
At a young age, most people aren't quite sure what route to take in life. This wasn't the case for 2016 Watertown High School graduate Mike Nichols. With racing blood in his family, he knew early on his path would involve going fast and turning left. Mike Nichols is no stranger to the racetrack. While other kids his age might have been playing with Hot Wheels, he was witnessing the real thing.
I think where my racing drive started was actually watching my uncle race down in Huset's. He was a big sprint car driver, and he was pretty good at it.
After watching his father Lanny work with some of the best in sprint car racing, Nichols wanted to give it a shot.
He actually built a car for Paul McMahon in our garage, and I actually asked him one night while I was sitting in the race car if I could have a chance at driving a race car, and I quit all sports and I would do anything to be able to drive a race car.
Even with the family's racing background, convincing his dad to let him take the wheel wasn't easy.
He finally sat me down one night in the garage, and he was 9 years old, and he said, "Dad, I've asked you 3 times that I'd like to try racing something. And I want you to listen to me right now. Literally sit down and listen. I will give up every sport I'm in, soccer, baseball, football, basketball, so I can try and race something. And I really just want to try it. And I've been asking you, and you're not hearing me." And it's funny the way that works, because with the racing background that I come from, everybody probably expected that my kids would race, and I never had any intentions of any of my kids racing.
With this hobby, he wasn't able to live a typical teenage life. Fortunately, he didn't have to give up all of his sports.
A lot of school-sanctioned stuff I missed. I really never made it to a homecoming. The only sport I ended up playing was basketball because it was in the winter and it worked. So other than that, as soon as basketball was over, we were straight to the shop for the race car, and then basically until basketball started again, we spent every night in the shop or every night at the racetrack.
You win some, you lose some. Nichols lost some teenage experiences, but gained quite the resume. Rookie of the Year honors, National Karting Championships, feature wins. You name it, he won it.
Sure, I mean, you think about the stuff you missed out, but the stuff that overcomes that and you've done really makes up for it. So it makes it easier to know that it was a better decision.
As one of the youngest in the field, the sky is the limit. But Nichols is simply enjoying the process day in and day out.
You know, every kid's goal is to make it to NASCAR, to make it to the Indy 500, but right now I'm just excited to keep winning races, and I can't tell you where I want to end up, but hopefully, I mean, whatever way we end up going, as long as I'm racing, I'll be happy with that. I really will be.
For Midco Motorsports, I'm Kelly Stewart.
Nichols already has 5 wins to his credit in 2016, which is one more than he tallied all of last year. For more on Nichols, who currently sits 6th in WISSOTA's National Midwest Modified Standings, check him out on social media. That's Nichols Motorsports on both Facebook and Twitter. The return of the World of Outlaws created a little extra buzz in Aberdeen over the weekend, but just how big of a deal was it for Brown County Speedway? Midco SN analyst Rod Patterson will give us his thoughts on that and more when we come back.
This episode of Midco Motorsports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Rapid Speedway.
There were a number of great storylines that emerged from our regional racetracks in the past week, and here to help us shed some light on those is Midco SN analyst Rod Patterson. It is Hot Laps with Hot Rod time, and let's start in Aberdeen. Of course, the big news there, Rod, is the World of Outlaws back in town Sunday for the first time in more than 30 years. Always a big deal, Rod, but how important was this event for Brown County Speedway?
Well, I think it's huge because, you know, putting a show like this together, a big event like World of Outlaws, it's a risk, especially in a town like Aberdeen and then previously in Huron. Those are towns that are known as late model cities with some sprint car fans in it. So you're kind of reaching out of your comfort level a little bit. Brown County did a great job. They packed the place. It was a great racy track. Shane Stewart put on a great show on Father's Day with his wife and his lovely daughter there. Joey Saldana second, and then Donnie Schatz finishing third. And admittedly, he said he wasn't very good, but it was a huge show, and I think it bodes well for the future of Brown County Speedway to not only have all the late model shows, but some sprint car shows like World of Outlaws, ASCS, those types of things.
All right, well, we mentioned Donnie Schatz, and one of the main attractions with the World of Outlaws, of course, is Mr. Schatz. The North Dakota native finished third at Brown County after winning at River Cities on Friday. Now, he has not dominated this series like he did last year, Rod, but here he is, back on top of the standings. What are the odds that he wins his 8th series championship?
Well, if I had a couple bucks, I'd bet on it. And you talk about him not dominating. He has 10 wins already this year. 2 out of 3 races this year he's finished in the top 5, and over 90% of the time he finishes in the top 10. Nobody else has any more than 6 wins, and that's Brad Sweet. He's second in the points. So him and Donnie have a great battle going on right now for the points. Shane Stewart is in that 3rd spot. But you look at this entire team, not only the technician on the racetrack with Donnie Schatz, the way he drives, it's very similar to what you would see with a billiard player, making one move to set up another move, to set up another move. That's the kind of way he drives. And then when you've got the crew that they have with Ricky Warner's the crew chief, Steve Swenson is the car chief, Brad Mariscotti and Lanny Nichols working in the crew as well, Bill Klingbeil with the PR. It's a complete team. You can't bet against him. He's got 7 World of Outlaws titles, 9 national championships. Who's to say he can't win number 8 this year?
Yeah, he is awfully good, that is for sure. Well, Schatz got a lot of the headlines on Friday night in Grand Forks, but Mike Bulkin's win in the late model feature may have been more impressive. He was just a week removed, remember, from one of the scariest crashes that you're ever going to see. So let me ask you this. How tough is it mentally to get back behind the wheel that quickly and drive without fear?
You know, it's incredible. You know, I had a chance to see Jake Peters when he had his nasty wreck back a number of years ago. He tried to get back in the car again. He was good, but he wasn't Jake. Everybody's different, but I had a chance to talk to Mike Bulkin this week, and he told me it's one of those deals where if the horse bucks you off, you get back on it and slap his rear and get back on the thing and go. That's exactly what he did. When he had that nasty wreck, he kind of bicycled up in 1 and 2, destroyed the car. It just so happens that him and the crew were putting together a new car for fall. They had to kind of expedite that build just a little bit. They got the car ready to go. They came out and drew a horrible pill to start last in their heat, won the heat, came up and won the feature that night. Just an amazing turnaround. But you talk about toughness. That's about the 3rd nasty wreck he's had in his 30-plus years. it's a pale in comparison to what he went through in October of 2013. He had a massive heart attack. They took him to the hospital. He had 100% blockage in one artery, 80% in another. He had open heart surgery, and he came back to race, and is still very, very successful. 45 championships over his career, over 200 wins. I mean, the guy's amazing. You want to talk about tough? Mike Balkin is a tough dude.
Yeah, not a bad resume at all. Well, finally, free racing at Badlands Motor Speedway this weekend. You heard that right. Chuck Brennan made that announcement after his track's entire racing program was wiped out by Friday's nasty storm. Not something you see every day here, Rod. So how much equity do you think this earns him within the racing community?
Well, equity is an interesting word. I mean, there's a lot of definitions to equity. I think public relations-wise, it's huge because he knows that things didn't go the way they wanted them to last weekend. So this weekend, he wants to make up to the fans, to the drivers, to the sponsors, and everybody involved. And it's a chance for people that haven't been out to the racetrack yet to experience what racing at Badlands is like. I think a lot of that has to do with Chuck because he's the guy with the checkbook, but also has to do with Tom Savage Jr., the PR guy. Great racing mind. He used to work public relations at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, so he knows what he's doing. I think it's a huge weekend. I hope a lot of fans take advantage of it.
All right, well, I'm sure it's going to be packed. I know they're expecting it to be packed. We look forward to seeing how that all plays out. All right, that is it. You're officially off the Hot Laps hot seat. Thank you, Rod. Well, we've reached the white flag, folks. We'll wrap things up and look at your weekend schedule next.
This episode of Midco Motorsports on Midco Sports Network is presented by Rapid Speedway.
Here's a look at where the Midco Motorsports cameras are going to be headed this weekend. Enjoy the races, everyone. We'll see you next week.